Hey, this is Mike Renoir, Northwest Fight Scene, NWFightScene.com, here with the one and only Trevor Hot Sauce Smith. Man, how's it going today?
It's going well. Thanks for having me in here, Mike. Taking the time to talk to me.
I appreciate you coming and meeting me here down at Ring Demon, Tukwila, Washington. We are 6 days out from your next fight against Tor Trung, Swedish, the Hammer, Swedish fighter, and you're fighting in Dublin, Ireland. You must be getting excited.
I am. It's kind of snuck up on me, so I still got to pack my bags, get ready to leave. I think we leave at like 6 a.m. tomorrow for 17-plus hour flights.
Oh my goodness! So the UFC, are they flying you through London? How's the flight go?
We go through New York and then we go directly to Dublin.
Okay.
So New York to Dublin. A little layover in New York, but probably time to get a little jog in and then jump on the plane and go to Dublin.
Right now. You just had your last fight was also a long travel day. How is that as a fighter? You're cutting weight that week of, and you get this long travel day. How do you deal with that?
It's tough, man. I'm sure every fighter does it a little bit differently. I love having the luxuries of home, my kid, my family, and all that. But I don't know, you deal with it. You learn how to make a hotel room home for a week and do your best at getting the weight down and eating healthy. That's probably the hardest part, is eating. Losing, cutting the weight, you're in a sauna, you got the sweats on, that's pretty typical. But it's the, what are you going to eat when you're in a different country with a different palate? So that's the hardest part.
Right. Now, you seem like you're a pretty calm guy, day to day. But, when I see you in fights and you're amped up. So what is that like in fight week and then leading up to the fight? Are you nervous or you get excited, or, how do you deal with your emotions? And
it's definitely a combination of both, of nervous and excitement. I like to try to meditate. That's one of the things I've been doing over the years. But I think also with the experience of just being in the ring and taking a number of fights, I was commenting on this camp in particular, it's a lot more comfortable just to spar and to roll. And like you said, I'm a pretty emotional dude, so even when I'd spar and I'd roll in here, I'd get crazy, I'd have the adrenaline. So I've learned how to kind of relax and enjoy those ups and downs a little bit more.
Right. And you're on weight now, or how's that going?
I don't know. Should I talk too much about that? I'm a little bit overweight, but right on track for what we usually do. Right
on. Now, before we get into your fight with Tor, let's talk about your last couple of fights. You're coming off a loss to Thales Leites, tough loss, a real quick fight. Yeah. Talk about that fight.
It was just one of those where I went out and landed a couple of really good strikes early and kind of lost focus and started listening to the crowd and not doing the things I needed and got clipped with a punch, and the fight stopped early. So that's part of the business. You got to learn from it. So
right.
I'm not trying to dwell on it, but I definitely want to get back to my basics. I'm going to show some stand-up, but I want to get people on the ground and choke them unconscious like I'm used to doing.
Right. Now, when you had a loss like that, and you're say three losses out of the last 5 fights, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. How do you deal with these losses? I mean, wins obviously, hey, it's great. We were doing the right thing, but when you lose, what did I do wrong? I mean, do you dwell on it? What's the process you go through when you're dealing with a loss like this?
Man, I try not to dwell on it too much. I try to learn from the mistakes. There's definitely things that I've implemented in this camp. When I'm landing big shots, I'm not going to just step away with my hands down. I did the same thing in Herman fight. So, I go back and I look at my record and I see some of these losses. I'm, a split decision from being, 2-1 and 3-0 in the UFC if I would have kept my focus in that last fight. So It's one of these things you can't dwell on. It's a tough sport, but I got to learn from my mistakes, and I've made a lot of changes in my camp for this one. So hopefully you see me implement those in this next fight and come out and kick some ass.
Right on. Now, you obviously you have a little bit of pressure. Maybe another loss, they might cut you. You're probably on the chopping block. Although you were probably on the chopping block with the Ed Herman fight, but fight of the night, they kind of keep you around. So they like fight of the night fighters. Do you feel that pressure?
You feel it's in the back of your mind, but everybody says this is the biggest fight you've ever had. And really, with this sport, every single fight that you have is the biggest fight that you have, and I'm sure you've heard that before. But you can't blow it out of proportion. But it's definitely scary when you come in and you're fighting for your job, and that's one of those opportunities that fuels those fight of the night performances.
Right.
Hopefully, I go out there and my back's against the wall, and he corners me, and I have to fight out of it and put on a hell of a performance.
Now, Tor Trung, let's talk about him as an opponent. He is coming off loss last September, but also fight of the night to Rafael Natal, and you had a fight of the night last year, right around the same time, July. I think his was in September. So you're obviously both exciting fighters. He's predicting a 3-round war. How do you see the fight going?
It could go either way, man. I predict it going a little bit later, second or third round, but I'm definitely always trying to finish a fight. But I've watched a lot of footage on tour. Man, the guy's got a chin. I've broke both my hands, one of them a couple times, so hopefully I don't have to break my hands to finish him off, and I can do it with a choke. But I'm definitely planning for a war. His last fight, I know he took a lot of damage. He's taken a year off, so he's probably improved his skill set a ton. So I'm looking to see the best, Tor Trong that's ever fought in the UFC. And, we're both kind of fighting for our jobs. He's coming off a loss, I'm coming off a loss, so two dudes that are real tough and can take some damage, so it should be a really good fight. Right. I like his prediction, kind of the same round, second or third round.
Right on. Now, talk about that. I mean, when I was listening to an interview that he did last night, he talked about that year off where he felt like he didn't develop so much as a fighter in the last year, but he developed as an athlete, and I thought that was kind of an interesting comment. Talk about that relationship to your fighting life and your athlete, because you've been, wrestler and an athlete for a long time. Mm-hmm. You kind of got into the fight game a little bit late, maybe, but talk about that relationship and that development.
The fighter and the athlete relationship, man, I've always been an athlete. The fighter is definitely, I look at it as a third aspect. It was more of my spiritual side of like just being a good person. That's kind of what I've tried to develop over the last 2 years, is not necessarily just being an athlete and a fighter, but just being a good person. Because contrary to what everybody says about, the fight game is so barbaric and I can't believe these guys bash each other's brains in, there's a spiritual side to it that's really, you learn a lot about yourself when you're out there getting your ass kicked, beating somebody up, and you're enduring those highs and those lows. You find out a lot about yourself as a person. I think that's been my biggest growth over the last couple of years of being a fighter. It isn't necessarily that I'm an athlete or I'm a fighter. It's just being a really good person in addition to being an athlete and a fighter.
Right. Well, excellent. This training camp, who you been working with?
A little bit with Mario Miranda. Mike Hayes been here a lot. I've been trying to get away from a little bit of the live sparring, which is really easy to do because I like to get in and just bang and pass the time away beating the heck out of somebody. But I've tried to make more of a conscious effort in going through the routines, learning technique, getting the exercise in that way. A little bit more of the cross training, doing my consistent cardio. So I've tried to stray away from some of the hard sparring that I've done in the past and focus more on doing the classes and just keeping my body and my mind in shape. Right on.
Besides the meditation, I know you like to get out and about. I saw a Twitter post that you just got up with Mike Hayes' business, the paddleboarding. Talk about that.
Smooth Waters is this paddleboard company. As being a close friend of Mike's, I get the perks of whenever he's out and he's got an extra board, I can kind of jump out there and play with him. But anytime that I get out in nature and play around, it's an awesome time. Especially with Mike, I don't know if you've been out with him, but he is an absolute maniac. I think he almost killed himself in a rope swing the last time we were out. He'll jump off cliffs. He's a maniac when it comes to that stuff. So it's always entertaining, kind of load off, and you can have a cross-training day that consists of going out and paddleboarding and hanging out with good friends.
Right on. Obviously, you have some people to thank and some sponsors. Why don't you give a shout out to them?
Biggest thing is White Buffalo Management, Big Will, always representing, trying to do the best he can for us. Eric Dahlberg over here at Ring Demon, always give me a home and great knowledge. One of the better minds in the game when you want technique. He's a dude that'll show you the ins and outs of pretty much anything that you want to learn, whether it's stand-up or ground game. So those are my two biggest thanks. And then my friends and family and everybody that supports me. You go on Facebook and Twitter, and you have those people that follow you and thank you for what you do, and it's really I don't think they realize how motivational it is to have their support. I mean, it's something you need as a fighter, is you need that community support and people, cheering you on and watching you do what you do.
Absolutely. Now, we are, I guess, July 19th is the date, Dublin, Ireland, the O2 Arena. I guess you're on the preliminary card, and it's going to be on Fight Pass, is that right?
Yep, Fight Pass.
Okay.
So we're like the fourth fight of the night. I'm not sure what time. I'm guessing it'll probably be around noon.
Well, I was looking online. I think they said the prelims start at 9:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m.
Pacific time.
Okay.
So
we gotta get up a little bit early for some of my friends.
Right. And Fight Pass, if you're listening and watching this and you haven't gotten Fight Pass, it's a great deal. I mean, I don't think it's very much money, and obviously to see you fight is.
No, I think it's like $7 a month, but
Yeah.
you can see, almost every old fight that the UFC's
Oh,
had.
yeah.
So as far as me as a fighter, it's a great tool to look at all the other 85-pounders, look at some of
Right.
my old fights.
Right.
I had to reminisce, look at my Herman fight the other day, see all the mistakes and the cool things that I did in that one. So
Right.
no, UFC Fight Pass is a fun thing.
All right. Well, everyone, you guys watch it. So, hey, Trevor Smith again. Appreciate your time. Best of luck to you next Saturday.
Yeah, appreciate it, Mike. Thank you, Northwest Fight Scene. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.